Serious, people often advise, don't burn any bridges, but what's a bridge you were happy to burn? Short-term relationship, less than a month, with a girl that saw me less as a person and more as a resource. After we broke up, she graduated uni and moved overseas. When she got back, she got in contact with me and asked for a catch-up lunch. This was the first time I'd heard from her in 5 years, so I agreed. At the lunch she told me that she needed me to find her a job, find her a place to live and to lend her enough to buy a car. I gave her a fairly enthusiastic lecture and left her with the bill. I'm a construction super, young project manager visiting my job for a client meeting. Tells me to go out and get him a Coke while the grown-ups talk. Went outside. When he came out, I told him to never talk to me like that again. Got in my face and thumped his finger on my chest while talking crap. I laid him out, went into the job, packed up some personal crap and went home. Frick that guy. Frick that company. The only advice I have ever given or taken about burning bridges is if you have to burn a bridge, nuke that sucker from orbit. The last thing you want to do is crawl back over a smoldering bridge. As for a bridge I burned, former boss was a complete and utter butt, talked down to me and pretty much everyone. He decided that I did not have any expertise in a software system I designed and wrote. So he went to the director with his grand plan to make it better. The director gave him the go-ahead. Problem was, everything this buttclown did was explicitly forbidden by FERPA, a violation of corp policy, or a violation of multiple federal agency rules. When I saw what this idiot was doing, I pointed out the issues. I was told to get the frick out of his way. He was doing what he wanted and that I was just a fricking moron for not realizing that he was a genius. I packed my crap and walked out. A shat called after the crap hit the fan. Never picked up his call. The director called. I told him if they were the last job on earth I would never go back to them. He made the decision to follow a shat over my objections and they deserve each other. Both were fired shortly after. One of them showed up a few years later as an interviewee trying to get a job where I worked. I was the lead interviewer. That was a fun interview. They left after 5 questions knowing full well there was no way in heck. Not realizing that he was a genius. Because a genius has to actually tell people he is a genius. I burned a bridge with my ex and I'm so glad I did. For the longest time, I had a really hard time burning a bridge with anyone. I didn't like the idea of someone in the world having a foul opinion of me. I wanted everyone to like me. After my ex cheated on me, I realized that not everyone deserves a relationship with me, and I don't need to be liked by everyone. My ex-fiancé. Months before the wedding he cheated on me and gave me chlamydia. I got the test results while he was on a business trip. I called and cancelled our wedding. We still had to pay for it. Took my stuff and the dog, then moved out while he was gone. He came back to an empty house with a note and my test results with the ring on top. Ouch. Still great way to dump him. My granddad. He psychologically abuses my grandma and puts her down any chance he gets, and has done for years. Constantly talks bad about my mum and aunt, calling them bad parents, etc. He had a stroke a couple of years back and I felt bad for him for a while, until realizing that he was a horrible human before and after the stroke. Now none of us talk to him apart from my gran, as she refuses to leave him, even though all they do is argue. I worked on the railways on an agency contract. I had a week off sick, unpaid, because I'd worked 12-hour shifts for 9 days straight and my body just shut down. Phoned in and okayed it with the boss. Went to my GP, doctor, and had a blood test. Turned out I was anemic, and I'd lost weight, probably because of the long shifts and lack of proper food on the short breaks at work. I came back a week later and I was told, in no uncertain terms, that if I had any more time off sick, I needn't bother coming back. I had no employment rights because technically I was on a 0-hour contract, even though it was rare for me to work anything less than 45 hours a week. So I pretend for a few weeks that I'd forgotten that comment. I then booked all of allocated holiday in one go, all 3 weeks of it. Because it was out of peak season and there were no strikes planned, they could do nothing but accept my request. A few days before the end of my holiday, I sent an email to the HR department at the agency explaining that I'd like 2 more weeks off work, unpaid, because I was out of the country. Again, Can't deny me that because I claimed to be out of the country and unable to return, and I was on 0 hours. 2 weeks later, and the night before I was due to return to work, I faxed them my resignation, stating I was leaving with immediate effect. That way, they would only read it first thing the next morning when I was supposed to arrive for my shift. They then have to locate somebody urgently to replace me. I did this because the agency paid us 2 weeks in arrears, and the contract states that if you don't give 2 weeks notice before you resign, you forfeit all money owed to you. But because I just had 2 weeks off and paid, they had just paid me for the second and third week of my allocated paid holiday. They didn't owe me any money, and so they couldn't withhold anything from me. I knew the boss was annoyed because I received my P45 attached to an email, and in the email it said that because of my disregard for their resignation policy, they are unwilling to provide an employee reference to any future employer. Joke's on them. I left to become self-employed. The contract states that if you don't give 2 weeks notice before you resign, you forfeit all money owed to you. I don't think this is legal. I'm almost sure it isn't in California. Lost my job a year and a half ago. I already had my complaints about my boss, but nothing big. Went in to get my last paycheck. He took a good chunk out of it for bar tabs I'd apparently left open. That was the 15th of May, already past the tax deadline. I'd already filed for an extension because he kept saying I'd get my 2014 W-2. I didn't get it until July, after texting and emailing him weekly. This year, I dealt with the same thing. He completely ignored all my texts and emails, and did not send me my W-2. I filed for an extension, and in October, after never hearing from him, called the IRS to see if I could get the copy from him. They didn't have it. He never actually filed my taxes. My co-workers got theirs, mostly late, and after weeks of pestering. So the IRS is looking into it, and I need to file my taxes, now late, with an estimated income. Here's the tricky part. We all got handwritten checks from him, no pay stubs. If we wanted, we could sign the check over to him and he would cash it out of the till right then. He also demoted me from kitchen manager, at $12 HR, to cook, at minimum wage. I still had to train the new manager, who rage quit after 2 weeks during a particularly bad Sunday brunch. He hadn't actually told me my pay was getting cut. I only found out when my next check was a few $100s short. Honestly, I have no idea how much I earned from him in 2015. He may not know either. If it comes down to a full-blown IRS investigation, there are lots of other things I'd love to tell them. Frick that butthole and his crappy restaurant. I hope he lands in jail. I doubt anyone will read this so far down in the thread, but it felt great to rant. Be very helpful to the IRS. Very helpful. My father and I had been estranged for a few years. I'd stopped talking to him because in every conversation he attempted to manipulate me into giving him money, resources, or pity. After 4 or 5 years of silence between us, he called my mom and told her to tell me that if I didn't start calling him weekly, he'd kill himself. I told her I was willing to call that bluff, and if he did kill himself, it wouldn't be my fault. Mom asked what she was supposed to tell him. I told her to go ahead and tell him what I said. He has made no further attempts to contact me. He still calls my mom and sister when he wants stuff or attention, but apparently I'm a big fat meanie. Quitting my first minimum wage job, $4.75 hour to work for a maniac who put his dealer on the payroll, made the bakers do calisthenics if there wasn't something else for them to do, couldn't keep his hands off the girls, etc. I showed up one morning, frick you, I quit, threw my apron down on the ground, and walked out. That was 20 plus years ago, and it's never been a problem for me since. Best Buy. I worked there during college and one of the managers got mad about my numbers and told me that I would be stuck at Best Buy forever cause I was worthless and had no skills. I told him want me to prove you wrong and walked out. Look at me a year later, graduated college and making $60,000 per year at an easy as frick low stress IT job. I stopped back in and made sure to tell him all about it in a condescending, cocky way. Frick you. As a former Best Buy employee I say congrats. I had the same type of manager. I would get mad about the numbers and all. She got fired and I have an awesome job working in digital imaging. I wish I could go back and tell her like you did your boss. This is kind of the opposite. Someone burned their bridge with me. My stepmother. She was, and still is I imagine, a toxic person. She spent years emotionally and mentally abusing me when she was drunk out of her mind. When I found out I was pregnant, I simply had enough because I didn't want my future child to endure it either and walked out of her life, as well as my father's, but that was a slightly different story. 7 years go by, then my father passes fairly early in life and crap exploded. She didn't inherit his father's trust fund. He died before the cutoff date. As my grandfather's only grandchild, I got it, much to her disappointment. For months after my father died, she tried to repair our relationship, but her drunken hatred towards me was burned into my mind. While I felt bad that she was broke and possibly about to become homeless, I refused to help her simply because she and my father refused to help me when I was broke and homeless with a baby. I blocked her and all her children on any social media, changed cell phone numbers, and even moved to a house that GPS can't really find 90% of the time. Former roommate. He paid his full half of rent maybe once, but I couldn't afford it all on my own. So as less and less rent gets paid he starts talking about moving out and I say stay for now and pay what you can, thinking obviously more about myself and the importance of sticking to my lease. His girlfriend moves in and I'm glad cause she's actually paying most of his rent. Finally comes to a head when he spends all his money on cigarettes and asks me for money to get his kid, who only sees him every other weekend, food and diapers. It ends in an actual fistfight cause he's in butt and wants to get in my face when I start telling him to be responsible for his kid. I tell him the only reason he's still allowed to stay here is the money and it's not worth it so he needs to leave now. He says I thought you wanted me to stay cause you were in love with me, holy crap. I said heck no, get out of my house now and don't look back. I certainly didn't. That's strikingly similar to the bridge I've burned, except neither of us had a kid, and the girl that moved in for a while was dating neither of us. I didn't burn the bridge, it burned itself. A company I once worked for was taken over by new owners who cared nothing about quality of service and products but about profit margins for executives. It's now out of business. The bridge is no more. My abusive ex-girlfriend. It's been 6 years now and it's still hard thinking back to it. I was a big, muscular guy dating this petite cheerleader. If someone was told that there was an abusive relationship going on between us, never in 100 tries would someone guess she was the abusive one. For people who say ignorant comments like, just leave her or things like that clearly don't understand. Every day you're being told that nobody else would ever want you and you're lucky to have a girlfriend as great as she was. Your father should be ashamed of who his son is. I don't know why anybody would waste time on you, etc. You feel so dependent on that person because you feel like there's nobody else who would ever love you and you're going to be alone forever if you leave. It was mostly verbal emotional abuse, but sometimes it did lead to physical. On days I felt that I could walk away from her comments she would come slap me, hit me, and she even hit me with a metal bat. This tears a person down so much you just can't do anything. The only way that I was able to leave her was that I completely accepted that if I left her I probably wouldn't ever find anybody else to ever care about me at all and I would always be alone. I was okay with that rather than being with this girl any longer. It was the absolute hardest thing I ever had to do. More and more comments about how I'll never find anybody or ever be loved. How I should kill myself if I do actually leave because it will only be worse living without her. I blocked her on every social media, her phone number, everything save an actual legal document making her stay away and I just felt numb. She showed up to my house multiple times but I never went to the door to see her. It took 3 years before I let someone back into my life romantically, and it was a complete blessing compared to what I was in. I eventually broke things off with her, just because we never saw each other. But as of 4 months ago, I have been engaged to my girlfriend of 2.5 years and we're getting married next June. She is the greatest thing that ever happened to me and the only person who I've ever been able to talk to about that relationship. I am so grateful to have her in my life. I wouldn't be the person I am today without her pushing me through college and now supporting me through med school as well. Because I burned the old bridge when I did, I was able to move away to college and meet my future wife. I do not regret any part of what I did, and I truly hope that my old abusive ex sees what she has done and changes to a better person. She has 2 kids to different fathers now, and I certainly wish that she will never treat those children how she treated me and they can grow up and live great lives. My husband's parents. My husband and I are a same-sex couple. My husband's mother is very religious, Mormon, and when she found out we planned to adopt, she left us a very angry email about how gay people can't raise children. She told us how badly we would ruin these children and things of that nature. This is coming from a woman who kicked her teenage son out of the house when she found out he was gay. My husband was fortunate to have an aunt who was more than willing to allow him to live with her, and we are still super close to her and her 2 kids. It boggles my mind that his mother could say those things. You kicked your own child out of your house, but we are the ones who will be horrible parents. She was angry because she believes that all kids deserve a mother and a father. When I pointed out to her how many kids were in the foster system in our state, she said that I should leave that to God. My husband wasn't on speaking terms with her at that point, but I was still open to making the relationship work. After that, I told her that we were going to have children, and if that was something that she couldn't handle, then she shouldn't contact us anymore. I don't want to subject my kids to that. We haven't heard from her since. Side note, we are currently in the process of adopting 2 young children. We haven't ruined them yet. The only difference kids of gay parents experience is that they know they were wanted and not an accident. You're good people. The relationship with my sister. I think the fire was started when she asked me if I loved her, and I asked if she wanted to hear the truth. When she said yes, I told her that no, not in any way, shape, or form. She's a cancer to the people around her. She creates drama when there is no need for it, and she constantly plays the victim. She is unappreciative, constantly negative, and cares about no one but herself or what someone can do for her. She thinks the bridge is salvageable, but all she is to me is a week off of work when she dies, which can't be soon enough. My only sadness will be for my father, who will be reeling from the loss of a child. She always says she wants to change, but anytime she shows progress, it fails to pan out and she slides right back to where she's at. I've been done with her life of chutes and ladders for quite some time now. She's nothing but a week off of work when she dies. Holy crap. Left a friend who was toxic. Claimed she'd constantly hit me. Did hit me. Got pretty violent and all emo. Frick that crap, I'm out. An uncle who was heavily influenced by neo-Nazism. I discovered at a family Christmas and announced in front of the whole extended family that I was embarrassed to be related to him and that he was proof you can choose your friends but you can't choose your family. Wouldn't change a thing. To rip off Churchill. I won't attend his funeral, but I might send a note saying I approve of it. One of the best things allies can do about racism is to stand up and express disapproval when it's seen. Too often we awkwardly sit in silence, not realizing the bigots take that as agreement. I quit the car business after selling for 9 years. I had put up with the CEO's daughter getting preferential treatment for 2 years and had had enough. She had progressed from being a bad salesperson to a lazy internet salesperson to a clueless finance manager. I had another job lined up and was already leaving, but they wanted me to work a Saturday as my last day. So I went into her office and told her that she was mediocre at her job, that we all knew why she was in her position, and that she can't rely on daddy for the rest of her life. I told her that the salespeople don't respect her, and that she has to earn it. Then I left. You probably did her the biggest favor of her life, if she had any sense at all. More or less burning a bridge currently. For years my father hated his sister and how her daughters acted. Being the upbeat person I am, I tried to get him to act kind and perhaps mend things. Never really got why he was so pissed at my aunt all the time. Sure, they'd made some untasteful comments about my grandparents passing and them getting the house and stuff. But hey, family. Q 2009. My dad is dying to cancer. His last Christmas is somber and a lot of family show up, except his sister and my cousins. My dad passes, his funeral held, and dear gods, I almost decked my cousin at one point for a comment she made to my face. Don't worry, classy 22, I know you don't cry at these things. B. It's my father's funeral. He was 44, but they still weren't. Awful human beings. My grandfather passes a couple years later. Not much was done to help my grandmother out and she coped with living alone entirely. Then she got cancer. Guess who kept trying to butt in to make sure they were the only family contacted for will related items? Who took over care only after my mother, ex-daughter-in-law, cared for my ailing grandmother for a few months. In the end they changed my grandmother's house locks when they thought she was permanently stuck in the hospital and tried to coerce her into giving them her car. I've never been so thoroughly disgusted. My eldest cousin and aunt aren't in the will, and my youngest cousin is trying desperately to drag her heels on getting back to me. The will process has been going on since May. As soon as the will and house are settled sold, I'm done with them. I'm seriously dropping all contact. Right now it's strictly as required. I quit my last job without giving a notice. The old bag at HR was such a C about it, but it felt really freaking good to be in a position to do that. I always wonder how long I could string along a paycheck after leaving. Like maybe call in sick a few times, maybe stop by once or twice and let people see me and basically see how long it actually takes for them to know that I am not there all day and do no work at all. At least 2 weeks, I'd imagine. I am on good terms with all but one of my exes. Some are even pretty good mates now. All my exes have one thing in common and it's that all of them cheated. But time and moving on has allowed me to get over the hurt and have most of them still in my life in one way or another. Except one. My very last one I know I just can't be a bigger person about. He went to Thailand for a boys trip about a month after we started dating. He'd call me every single day saying how much he missed me etc. One of those days being Valentine's Day. When he got back a few weeks later, he said that being apart from me made him realize he never wanted that again and proposed. I was a little taken aback, but I was in my late 20s then. He treated me really well and was working. Yes, bonus. So I said we should definitely consider it after our honeymoon phase wore off. Several times over the next 12 months, he would bring it up and then one night he did it formally and this time I said yes. But aside from planning a wedding, he became really into M and he changed as a person. Completely paranoid and overbearing. So I broke it off 6 months later. That's when he told me that all those months ago, in Thailand, he had cheated on me with several different women including one on Valentine's Day. He had felt guilty and that's why he had proposed, and every time he started feeling bad, he would bring up us getting married. Crap, that hurt. Aside from that, the paranoia from the drugs resulted the next couple of months after breaking up with him stalking me, following me home from work which was over an hour's trip with a train and bus, heaps of prank calls, getting his family to call me asking me to reconsider, then the desperation evolved into threats and blackmail. But as soon as he got my family involved into a topic of a threat was when I flipped it at him. Yes, I'm pretty patient. I try reasoning and being rational. Even in his drug-fueled altered state of mind, he knew me losing my crap was a big deal and he back off. I honestly hope I never see him again. I'm still put off finding someone cos of him. What an butthole. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.